Hi, I'm Zach, and you're watching another product review from MakeUseOf.com. Today, I've got with me the Power Armor 14 Pro, the latest rugged smartphone from Ulefone. And as the name suggests, it's absolutely a rugged phone. The Power Armor 14 Pro has a colossal battery that will last days on end. It's essentially drop-proof and is just over $200. In terms of design, the Power Armor 14 Pro is about as efficient as they come, but it could be at the cost of some other features that you may be accustomed to on a smartphone. So first and foremost, when you're talking about the Power Armor 14, you pretty much have to mention its size. It's huge. I mean, the screen is only 6.5 inches, so maybe a little bit bigger than average. There's an iPhone 8 for comparison. I haven't had any issues getting it to fit in my front pocket, but I could understand that that would maybe be a problem for some people. Thankfully, Ulefone has a belt clip attachment in case you ever want to feel a little bit more like Batman. Once you get past the sheer size of this phone, the rest of the display is probably what will determine your feelings towards the Power Armor 14. There's a slight bevel around the edges of the screen, no home button, and there's a notch at the top bevel for the front-facing camera. And rather than the centered on-screen home button, it has on the right side, just under the volume buttons, a fingerprint reader. The buttons other than the fingerprint reader and the text on the back and a little bit of this trim around the camera all have a rose gold finish, which I think looks nice. Most notably for some though is that the display for the Power Armor 14 Pro is only 720p, which is less than Full HD. The phone is powered by the Helio G85 processor, which, judging by the display and the refresh rate, is probably on the weaker side. So undoubtedly, the display of this phone is gonna look really dated to some users. And this is what I was talking about at the beginning with this phone lacking a few of the other features that most smartphones on the market today might have. But I think it's also the compromise that Ulefone makes to get the Power Armor 14 Pro to be in the price range that it is. Understandably, I think having a dated display is not going to be a compromise that everyone can get behind. But this weaker processing power is honestly the biggest criticism that I have for this device. But as I'll cover in the rest of the video, I do think that this phone has quite a few other things going for it. So it's pretty clear that Ulefone wanted to make a rugged phone. This smartphone prioritizes longevity and functionality above everything else. And thankfully, the Power Armor 14's interface is familiar enough that just about anyone should have an intuitive experience using it. The Power Armor 14 Pro uses a USB-C port to charge on the bottom, and it has an auxiliary headphone jack on top. Opposite to the fingerprint reader on the right, there is a multi-function button. This can be programmed to do a variety of things based on a single click, double click, or holding the button down. I currently have mine to open a camera, take a screenshot, and then open the waterproof camera. You can use the print reader to unlock the phone, log into certain apps, and the front-facing camera also has facial recognition as an option to unlock your phone. In the box, Ulefone includes a pin to remove a SIM card out of your current smartphone, and you don't even really need it to access the SIM card port on the Power Armor 14. As you can see with just my fingers, it's really easy to slide out. So if you don't plan on using this as your daily driver phone and are just wanting to, take it out camping or places where a rugged phone might be more appropriate, it makes swapping the SIM in and out super easy. The speaker quality is maybe a little subpar, sounds a little underwatery, grainy. But it does get pretty loud. I think if I had to say which was louder, this is probably slightly louder than my iPhone. It's just a single speaker on the bottom, and it is probably worth pointing out that it's really easy to cover up with just one finger, and that can essentially mute it. Thank you for watching this product review with MakeUseOf.com. If you liked the video, make sure to subscribe. MakeUseOf puts out tech reviews for the latest products all the time. So the main flagship feature of the Power Armor 14, what's listed on the front of the box, and likely the culprit behind the huge thickness of the phone, is its battery. The battery for the Power Armor 14 is 10,000 milliamperes. And if that number doesn't mean much to you, just know that on my first day of using this thing, I played a bunch of those terrible games you see Instagram ads for a few hours on end, and then streamed YouTube on full brightness, full volume for a few more hours, and I think barely took off like 30%. In addition to that, I just left it on idly on my desk for a few days without touching it, and it barely took off a few percentages. On top of all that, it recharges pretty quickly and can recharge wirelessly. So the battery life for this thing is just absolutely insane. Unless you're actively trying to kill it or are stranded somewhere, there's basically no risk of this thing ever dying out on you. Apart from the crazy long battery life, the durability of the Power Armor 14 is really what helps it live up to its namesake. The Power Armor 14 Pro is rated IP69K and IP68 proof for durability and resistance. And on Ulefone's website and YouTube channel, they have a bunch of video examples of their own durability tests. And since a lot of those tests are literally done in like a lab with a tumbler machine and a drop machine, my own durability tests would have felt a little bit redundant. They also have some more fun ones that aren't in a lab, where they're just like tossing it down a flight of stairs or even running it over with a car, and it still works fine. And just by looking at this thing, it's probably pretty obvious that it can easily survive an impact from a typical accidental fall height at like chest or waist level. And just like that, I've been intentionally dropping this thing all week just because I can. So Ulefone really wanted this thing to last a long time, both in its battery life and damage resistance. Something that's always important to talk about with any smartphone is the camera. I think with any smartphone, most users have come pretty accustomed to what we can expect from smartphone photography. In proper lighting conditions, you can get decent enough quality photos, and with stuff like portrait mode, and this one even does have a macro lens, slightly more professional looking photos, and all with a same level of accessibility that comes standard with most phones. And I think the Power Armor 14 delivers on that. The camera is 20 megapixels. Some of the video looks maybe a little bit grainy to me. I'm not sure if maybe it's lacking some sort of internal stabilization or something like that, but all the photos and video I've seen come out of this thing, I'd say are pretty standard or typical of what you can expect from other phones on the market. Nothing super premium, but also nothing really feels lacking in that department either. Unfortunately, Ulefone does, for some reason, feel the need to watermark your photos by default, which maybe there's a way to disable that in settings. I haven't found it yet. Something that does make the camera stand out a bit more and make it a bit more exciting is the fact that it has a waterproof mode. And plenty of smartphones these days offer some sort of water resistance, but as I'm sure most of you are curious, as I was, how waterproof is waterproof exactly? And as you can see by some of these videos, obviously it can be completely submerged and still work just fine as a camera and a video camera. Even after resurfacing, a lot of times I would be reviewing the pictures and videos I took still in the water and still getting the phone wet, and it really never showed any signs of slowing down or having any issues or problems at all. The videos I recorded were never more than just like a couple minutes, and maybe it's just the novelty of getting to play with a phone in a pool, but I was really impressed by the waterproof aspect of this thing.
Really cool.
So it goes without saying that the newest and shiniest tech products, smartphones included, are always going to have mass appeal. Something like a rugged phone or a budget phone won't necessarily have that. I also think it's a safe assumption that in 2022, a lot of users aren't going to be satisfied with a 60 Hz refresh rate and video content displayed in 720p. But with all of the budget versions of high-end phones coming out and all the talk of right to repair these days, it's obvious that a lot of people just want to get a phone that they won't have to replace for the foreseeable future. So the display and some of the performance of the Power Armor 14 Pro are pretty undeniably dated by today's standards. But in all honesty, among the demographic of consumers that are looking for a phone that they can drop and not worry about, don't have to charge every day, and want to spend less than $300, actually cares about any of that stuff? I would guess not many. The Power Armor 14 is a no-nonsense utility phone that does exactly what it needs to at a competitive price. The easily accessible SIM card slot makes it a good backup or travel phone. The long-lasting and powerful battery life is only outmatched by the life cycle of the device itself that feels like it's indestructible when you're holding it. So when it comes to actually giving this thing a recommendation, I think it entirely depends on your priorities. If you're looking for something with a lot of processing power or a really impressive display, then yeah, I mean, a $200-something rugged phone probably isn't going to do it for you. But if you are looking for something that is reliable and affordable, the Power Armor 14 goes above and beyond. Thank you for watching this product review from MakeUseOf.com. If you liked the video, be sure to subscribe. That way you won't miss out on any of the latest tech reviews on all of the newest products. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you again in the next one.